Okay, it's our first experiment with Unity, and at this stage I'm going to assume that you created a project and you've saved it somewhere on your computer, and we're just going to play around in here and make a ball drop from the sky and land on the ground. Okay, so a few things over here in this hierarchy. You could right click and say you can create 3D objects and stuff here, or you can go up here to game object, okay, and add a 3D object. Let's just go ahead and do that right now. Let's make a sphere. Okay, and you'll see here the sphere is in your scene, and we can adjust its coordinates here. I'm going to set the X, Y, and Z to 0, 0, 0. And so on the X, Y, and Z axis, you can know that it is at 0, 0, and 0. And you'll see if you move this, you're moving up on the Y axis. I'm going to go Control Z and put it back. And you've got your Z axis, and I'm holding the Alt key and dragging with the left mouse to rotate this around. Okay, and what I want to do is make this ball drop. If I push play, it's a sphere, great, and it's just sitting there. It's actually going to play, and nothing. It's not going to move or anything. It's just going to sit there. Hold on, it says busy for 10 seconds, and there you go. You hit play, and your ball. There's your ball. Okay, now let's just move it up a little bit into the sky and make it fall. And how are we going to make it fall? So what we're going to do is we're going to add a component. And I've already started typing in there, but if you start typing rigid body, okay, now, and we want rigid body, not 2D, we just want the rigid body. And you'll see that right here, it's checked that it's using gravity. So just like that, we've added some physics to this ball, and when we push play, the ball is going to fall from the sky. Okay, and there it goes. It's going to fall for infinity. If I'm rolling the mouse out to see that it's falling, and if I select the sphere, you'll see the Y coordinates just dropping the whole time. Okay, great. How can we make it land on the ground? So let's come back over here this time and right click. So I right clicked right there, and we can add some more objects. Okay, and I'm going to add a plane. And now there's something interesting about the plane. Okay, so if you double click an object over here, it'll zoom in, which is a really cool feature. And why is it up in the sky? Not exactly sure, but I'm going to set it 0, 0, 0. And let's see what happens when we push play now. Will that ground stop the ball? Boom. Yes, it does. Okay, great. One thing I want to show you about the plane, which is really, really interesting. So let's just play around with this for a second. It's going to land, and the plane is perfectly horizontal, so it's just going to land and sit there. I could rotate this, and I'm going to rotate it on the, well, let's get back in, let's hit 2D. Let's go back to 3D. And you could rotate around and play around with what angle you're looking at. And you can see which way the camera is pointing, right? The camera is starting over here. This is the camera view here. And so I'm going to rotate this on the x-axis. Let's just start at like, when I hit 90, look what happens. So with the plane, you can only see it from one side, okay? And it's really interesting. It's not like a block. Like if you look, I put negative 45 here, negative 45. You could only see it on one side of the plane. Okay, it only projects from one side. Look at this, it's invisible when you look through it that way. So sometimes you have to be careful with that. So now, when I drop the ball, I'm going to put this from the angle here, which is kind of neat. Here's the scene, your working environment, and here's what the game player would see. And so the ball will drop and roll. Okay, good. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this back to 0. And I want you guys to play around with doing this. You're going to go ahead and right click and put a 3D object and put a cube and make little ramps that they will fall. And I want ultimately the ball to land on the plane. So we're going to do in the next tutorial, we're going to make the ball explode when it hits the ground, kind of like it's falling on lava. Okay, and so you could stretch this cube out in different ways. One way to do it, is to use the scale, and I could do on the x coordinate, I can make it longer that way. On the z coordinates, I can make it wider that way. And I could rotate these now. So how about we do, say, 25, 24. Okay, and then maybe I want to go negative. Okay, and that's just way too big. Okay, how about something like that? We'll raise this up and move it back and play around with moving the ball up higher in the sky maybe, and then putting a few different platforms and let the ball kind of roll down and then hit the ground. Boom. The last thing I want to show you in this tutorial is how to add a material. I'm going to add a material to the sphere. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is in this assets folder, I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this folder materials. Okay, it's good to stay organized. So I'm going to go inside here now and I'm going to right click and create a material. Okay, and it's right here in the middle. So in this material, I have some options. I could play around with this, and you could have some fun picking stuff. You could play around with this. Do you want it? You know, you've got metallic and settings, and you could mess around with all these different different settings on here. But then when you actually select the sphere, you can drag this material onto it, and you could open it up here and see what settings are in here. So metallic, that's what I was looking for earlier. And you could change this, and it has slight different feel and looks to it. You could change the color. And so now when I push play, I have a, now you can see why I named this Cannonball. It looks like a cannonball. And boom. Okay, so in the next tutorial, I want you to have fun playing around, make kind of like, a bunch of ramps. Maybe it kind of shimmies its way down. Maybe you put these things, you could rotate these. How about we rotate it on the y-axis and see what that looks like. So if I went 90 degrees on the y and move this platform, we can make the ball kind of go, fall the other direction. And we can maybe have 2 or 3 of them and make the ball kind of zigzag its way down. Okay, so have fun with that. And then just keep in mind that when the ball hits the plane, we're going to make it explode and instantiate a particle effect. Okay, so go ahead and have fun making a material for your cannonball and making it fall from the sky and landing on the ground. Okay, have fun.